So this is a best of 5 TvP from the PCFORMAN Super Tournament, which happened. Again, this event happened a little while back, and we're replay casting it, and we've just been, instead of, usually we kind of get replays, we kind of cast through them in a day or something. This has kind of been our go-to tournament for like the last 2 or 3 weeks, actually, to just kind of go to cast a series from when we have some downtime and stuff like that. So we've just been kind of slowly grinding our way through this set of matches. So I think this was played probably about a month ago, so it is a little bit outdated compared to what we usually do. The reality of that is just kind of, well, that's life, and it's been busy times, and we'd rather cast this at some point than not cast them at all. So thought we'd just get warmed up today with this Maru Zoun series, Maru top left and Zoun bottom right. Like I say, from the PCFORMAN Super Tournament. And the only other thing I really wanted to say right away was, if you do end up watching this on YouTube, we are gonna start. I've been trying to push the YouTube a little bit more lately, and we're gonna really start trying to grind it a little bit, because YouTube is not doing well. YouTube is doing is at an absolute low point over the last month. Its absolute lowest point in the last month, and it has been for almost 2 years on this YouTube. So that's a little bit sad, but that's okay. I understand dips and slowdowns happen. I'm just a little bit worried that it's a slowdown that seems to go into an even more of a slowdown, and I'd kind of like it to pick up pace a little bit, and you guys can, of course, help with that. So if you enjoy, Maru versus Zoun, or if you just enjoy the casting here regularly, in general, please do consider leaving a like on the YouTube video. And if you're not already a subscriber of the channel, please do consider subscribing. You can see when we upload more videos. Obviously, only do that if you like it. I don't want you... if you're one of these guys that drops in the comments and be like, "Oh my god, you're the worst caster ever," then don't subscribe. Because I've seen some people leaving those comments, and they have a little badge next to them saying, "Subscribe to WardiTV," which means they're subscribing to something they hate, which is really quite spectacular. So please do check that out, and hopefully we can start making a push now that DreamHack is over to get the YouTube a little bit more back on track, just because it has been, as mentioned, a little bit shaky as of late. So hopefully something we can start to spend some time fixing. Okay, into the game. I know I appreciate 2.5 minutes for me rambling on, but very standard opening. Marine into Reactor, into now a second and third barracks. That's going to be how Maru gets set up. While on the other side, Zoun is just expanding. He went for a Stalker early, and that's kind of a bit unique, getting the Stalker so soon rather than like an Adept early. That Stalker is going to start making its way across the map in a game where nothing has been lost at all so far. We really didn't miss any action. Let's see how this goes. That Stalker will arrive to the other side of the map, and we'll tap into the bunker for a couple of shots. Obviously, Marines in that bunker will decide to fight back. And we're just going to see our robot facility dropping down already before anything comes off the Twilight. So, generally, this immediately suggests aggression. I know Zoun is a massive fan of 4-gate Blink, and he uses that regularly to try and take advantages and to take momentum into the mid-game. So we'll see if that's going to be his plan. I mean, Blink does start, so you would imagine that's where the game is kind of pointed to right now. And there's going to be gateway number 3. And do we get a 4th one up in the main base at some point? Again, just with the robo being so quick, it typically says, "Hey, I'm going to be aggressive," rather than, "Oh, look, I'm, setting up gateways and just getting ready to take a 3rd base, etc." No. So that's going to be the case. It is going to be 4 gates. It is going to be Blink, and that'll be how this series gets going from Zoun. I mean, not too surprising as well when you start with that 1 Stalker too. Kind of suggests you want to go into something Stalker-focused. Wonder if that's something that Maru perhaps picks up on a little bit, as we do have Stimpack and Combat Shield both on their way at the moment as well. So just bringing that up into play. Obviously with this 3 racks, you get those upgrades very quickly. 3 racks against this 4-gate Blink is very interesting, because you're not going to have a lot of the powerful singular units that you usually get. Usually you would have like a siege tank, and with a bunker with unstim Marines inside to try and defend, and your defense revolves around the siege tank. In this case, your defense revolves around these bio units that can't necessarily stim too much, because if they stim too much, they don't have medevacs to heal them up. But they are going to have surges of being extremely powerful, where they can just overwhelm in an instant with that stim. And that's going to be the biggest threat here that Maru holds, I believe, as he comes across the map. It's one of those things where actually being aggressive here can be kind of cute, because then you don't have to pick and choose when to stim, and then Zoun's like, "No, we don't fight just yet." You stim when you know you're going to commit into the fight, when you know you're kind of happy to just go for it. So I do like that part of this from Maru, and he's going to go right now, but of course Blink is available. Battery will be done in a moment, and of course, Super Battery can be popped, but they'll just target down 2 Stalkers already, but now you'll turn tail and run. And actually, with the force field down, these units are going to get pretty far away without too many issues. Now going to turn it back around and see if they can do anything else as they start to move in. Looking for a couple more Stalkers they chase down, and now just going to be having the last few units coming around, and that's going to be about it. I think these units will go down, but he won't go down without a fight. Killing off, I mean, 6 Stalkers in total. He'll get 7 right at the end. I mean, you look at resources lost, that's efficient for Maru, so that is a good trade. Even when he loses that final Marauder, it's still efficient for him overall. It keeps Zoun away from taking a 3rd base, which you might have liked to think about by now. And back at home, Maru's just on his way to his starport factory and then 2 more barracks, so he's fully set up for a 2-base continuation here. And that's very, very apparent, right? Just being set up for 2 bases. 2 base is something which typically, when you go like this is kind of committed. So this isn't like, oh yeah, he's just setting up. No, with 5 racks, you generally are looking to be aggressive. You are essentially delaying that 3rd CC instead of building, you know, you're building extra racks instead of that. So you're looking for a big follow-up attack. And to be fair, Zoun on the counter has been able to find a little bit of damage too, able to come in and kill 6 SDVs off. Will just slow Maru down that little bit. And that's always a nice little positive as well. So yeah, have I got our Stalkers just kind of poised? Maybe blink up into the main base, and then they go aiming for that reactor. Gonna get that reactor pretty quickly. And a couple medevacs gonna pop out straight into Stalker fire, and Zoun is getting some serious work done with this counterattack of Stalkers. What I do worry about for Zoun is that Robobay is only just now finishing, and it feels like it's gonna be a pretty late switch into anything other than those Stalkers, right? I do see a couple of them just lifting into that Warp Prism again. Going to go around that right-hand side, figure out how they want to do this. Yeah, I just wonder if the tech or the rest of the tech will be soon enough to deal with Maru's major push, because that's coming soon. You know, there's still no 3rd CC. Maru is still fully committed to the idea of, hello, I'm Maru, and I'm on 2 bases. That means you're meant to die. So that's kind of where we're set up. Well, that's how we are set up right now at the start of this mid-game, I suppose. We're kind of entering that mid-game phase, right, as, you know, tech structures come through, tech switches and choices start to really happen past the early game build order. Another 4 SCVs going down will stim, but obviously the Prism just gets them out of there, no cost at all. Well, here you go from Maru. This is where his army needs to do some work, as all of that worker damage taken added up to something that he just now can't push with. Has it been too much damage, or is he maybe going to be okay as Zoun does wander along over to this right-hand side? Going to join up with the Colossus. 2 more Stalkers just warping in. Big Bioforce sits on the low ground. Here come the reinforcements too. I mean, only a single siege tank, right? And siege tanks will be massive in trying to get rid of the Colossus somewhere along the way here as well. That would be pretty neat as we do scan once again. That army being sighted and keeping our eyes on it. We are splitting up a little bit. That tank going to try and siege. Tank go down immediately, so tank will fall. We grab an observer in that scan as well, by the way. That was a very close affair. Didn't think it was necessarily going to get caught there in the end. That's going to be seen triple drop into the main. This is actually one of the things that might cause some chaos here for Zoun and might cause some problems, because otherwise he was looking to defend this very well. Let's see if he can split his army up properly and deal with this just as well now that Maru is going to be all over the place. It's definitely the strength of this army of the Terran player who's just built nothing but bio units, more or less. That one single siege tank that was brought into play didn't last very long. The whole warping of Zealots gets killed off without doing anything. And now a lot of probes go down too. And it feels like relying on this warp-in. I mean, he did send other units, right? But letting the warp-in die and so many probes die before anything else arrives means it's already a very cost-efficient drop. At the moment, Zoun is struggling to get enough there to deal with it. And Maru's about to dive bomb this Colossus and these Stalkers, I think, with this new medevac. Although now he turns it around, the Colossus that is, to just kind of back away a little bit further. Okay, I'm just going to keep on pulling this back. Bio unit's still going to try and trade this out. I mean, Maru still has everything on the low ground as well, remember. So Zoun actually puts everything in the main base to defend. That's going to be something that Maru can absolutely abuse. And into the natural he goes, as he's just going to go for this pylon. But I tell you what, that pylon will be super batteried. Doesn't last that long. And now you put your super battery on something which is obviously no longer there. It's no longer powered, so it's just a battery that isn't doing anything. And I think there's just a little bit too much Maru. 1-1 upgrades in his favor as well, allowing for these trades to be that little bit better for him. He dives for the Colossi. Prism shows up, doesn't get the pickup on the first Colossus, and he would have needed a good amount of Colossus pickup micro to survive this, I think. And obviously now that isn't going to be happening. That Colossus goes down too, so there's number 2 dead. A third one does pop, and that one will start dancing the Prism, but everything else is already gone. And reinforcements are still streaming through, as Maru will indeed end up taking this first game against Zoun. Pretty hectic stuff. I mean, when you consider the way that it opened, just one of those games where everything could have changed so quickly, right? It was looking really good for Zoun. His defense was on point. It was just the drop in the main that he had no units split apart to deal with, and I'm not sure he really ever had units split apart to deal with a potential drop or anything, so a little bit kind of lackluster on the defense, and the appreciation that Maru really does need to get damage done, so he will do anything and try anything. Do anything, try everything sort of thing. And just felt like Zoun didn't really respect that part of this at all. And hence Maru just again on that attack which had to do damage. I mean, he has a third up at the end here, right? He built that deer in it all. And you know, if he didn't end the game, he probably would have gotten himself into a position to go back home and then just play off 3 bases. But the general idea at first is that you need to do some damage. You know, otherwise, why wouldn't you have just gone that 3rd base way earlier, and then the 4th and 5th racks later on? So, yeah, Maru finds the damage that he needs, and goes up 1-0 here. As we're going to start in the bottom left-hand corner of the map with the blue Terran player who is up 1-0 in our best-of-5 semi-final. In this PCFORMAN Super Tournament, it is Maru who was able to make his aggression work on out, and worked wonders to take him to that 1-0 lead. In the best-of-5 against Zoun, our red Protoss top right-hand corner of the map from Alpha X. Always fun to see Zoun showing up, and Zoun generally has looked very good. Obviously, I think we've got to mention, and I know this was obviously played before this happened because we're casting a replay, but in our own tournament, and maybe if you're watching this on YouTube, it's possible this goes up before this, so maybe if you don't want to be spoiled at all, do maybe mute for a moment or two or skip forward like 20 seconds. You know, you won't miss too much else. But yeah, in our WardiTV Summer Championship, Zoun actually did lose to Gumiho, so a Zoun that had been kind of winning anything and everything he played in suddenly didn't actually make it into our WardiTV Summer Championship, and I think that's just kind of wild, you know? That's sort of like, whoa. You know, he didn't make it into the main event. He didn't qualify because Gumiho was able to take him down, and Gumiho was on fire, don't get me wrong. Gumiho in general has been looking good, just Zoun has kind of been a mainstay in these online cups and online events, and now, yeah, a surprise loss on that one at least. Alright, well, game number 2. And we get ourselves lined on up to see what will go down. What's up, Meow Downtown? Thanks so much for the 17-month resub. Good to see. Thank you so much for supporting today. I appreciate it. An A-Stan 83 on the 36-month resub. Thank you so much for the 3 years, just so we take a moment to get this game started up. 3 years of my favorite cooking streamer, from the amazing marbles cake to some pretty nasty cheesecakes to the oddly tasty salt soup to the famous banana bread. Thanks for all the content, and that War Star game pretty cool too. Thanks so much for the 3 years, dude. Appreciate all the support. As always, as we just wait to kick off into this one. So, already a bit of a different opening from Zoun. He's going to go for an Adept first instead of a Stalker first. Adept first just typically means, I mean, it's a unit that goes across the map and can do pretty well at harassing the initial SCVs and slowing down the initial build and all that kind of stuff, so that's something we generally see doing rather well at first, and then after that, he is going to go for the Stalker, but the Adept just stayed at home as well, so nothing too wild as our Nexus finishes up. And Maru this time, he's already changed things up as well. He's not going to go for that 3 racks opener, he's going to go Factory Starport. He's already making up a Widow Mine, so this 1-1-1 setup instead of a 3 racks. Very different pacing in this game number 2. Right from the get-go, even though we're just getting started, the entirety of this game is already looking to be rather different right from the offset. And I think that's pretty cool. Very excited about that. Well, that's a Dark Shrine, so that's going to be Zoun's switch up beyond the initial, ordering of units, etc. He is indeed going to change it into a Dark Shrine. So this is super popular on Oxide. In fact, Oxide and Twilight openers, I would say 90% of the time have been Dark Shrine openings rather than Blink openings lately. This map in general just good for the Terrans, good for some of the initial pushes, and difficult to really, 4-gate Blink on. It's not nice to rotate from over here to over here. So it's not great for 4-gate Blink. And on top of not being great for 4-gate Blink, if you want to just go kind of expansion focus, it's a very good map for a Terran to push on with tanks, with a set of rocks on your third base. Hence the DTs are a somewhat safer overall way of kind of dealing with this. And that's something that we have been seeing a fair amount of. Overall, nice catch on the Prism. Even if you don't kill that, it's really good to know about the Prism. Because now you know more or less what's coming your way. You at least know it's kind of between two things, right? It's either going to be that 4-gate Blink or Dark Templar, so you can kind of just prepare a little bit for both, and that's completely fine to do, as we do see Raven on the way, tank building. Oh, probes do go down. The Widowmine drop makes itself known. There's one more Widowmine coming in, so Zoun a bit distracted. Does kill 2 of the 3 Widowmines, but... Oh, sorry, no, I am incorrect. One of the Widowmines actually came from the main base down here, so actually 2 of the 3 Widowmines stay alive. Alright, well that's actually even better. As we do see our Prism making its way down to come and help these DTs, but it's too far away. Massive mistake from Zoun, letting the Prism be zoned out and then letting the DTs wander in anyway. Okay, you needed to drop a scan, but to drop a scan and to get the double DT kill, I don't think anybody is upset about that. Maru especially not upset about that, I'd imagine. He should be absolutely beaming with the way in which that played, because that's just 2 DTs that did nothing, and now we have one more DT showing up. Well, Raven is here, so that's a dead DT as well. It gets an SCV. One single SCV. Okay, well, this is generally one of those games where, unless Maru... I was going to say, don't lose this DT as well. Oh, no. Widowmine drop just gets 12 more kills. Okay, well, Maru's just going to win this game, guys. I hate to be boring. I hate to be Mr., oh, yeah, this game's just over. And I know some people, I get called out for all the time. Whoa, do you predict games too early? You call games too early? I genuinely believe in this situation, it's so difficult to come back from. And I hope you take it as if I say something like this and then the other guy makes a play to come back, it's genuinely an amazing play, because that's what you need here as Zoun. He is down 7 workers in a game or a matchup where you're meant to be up 4 to 5 workers because of the way that mules work. Obviously, Chrono Boost is your macro mechanics. You're meant to have more workers. You do not. You're meant to have a decent army supply here. You do not. And for the army supply that you do have, your only tech to show of it is a single immortal and a charge upgrade building. And that's the bigger issue, is that your army supply is down and you don't even have any good tech in the army. So it's going to be a low tech, low powered army. It ain't looking pretty. It ain't looking pretty in the slightest, actually. It's looking pretty bad. As Medivacs and a Raven will make their way out over to the right-hand side. So, go to the far right we go. I'm going to be aiming for the main base. This Medivac did get shoved back over here. I mean, that was the one that was Widowmine dropping. Oh, Raven gets caught by the Stalkers. Nice catch, at least from Zoun. Doing something. The only problem with that is that these Stalkers, they don't have Blink. So now they're actually out of position to defend the main. We'll scan and kill 2 DTs once again. The DT killing in this game has just been non-stop. And, well, these Marines just decide which way they want to go. I mean, decent defense from Zoun. Given the situation, I thought he was bound to lose more than what he's lost here. I mean, it's still been expensive as a DT in the natural. Cleaned up as well. Maru is just so on top of that. He is not letting any DTs get in. He's not letting any amount of damage to be done by them. Nothing more than an SCV or 2, right? Damage which you can afford when you consider the cost of the DT being used to try and, create that damage. And on top of all the damage he dealt early, on top of the great defense, I mean, it all just combines into one push from Maru that should be very difficult to hold from Zoun. There is not a lot to really work with here, right? It is pretty doom and gloom for him. Maru dives in on top of this. The 2 Immortals and the Archon do get up the ramp, and our Bio Army continues to chase. Immortals are dancing around. The tank's putting in some firepower, and those Immortals are hurting a lot, and they're going to die now too. And Zoun just ends up having to type out GG. There's just not really much you do in that situation, friends. It's a... as we are in a 2-0 lead for the blue Terran player. In the bottom left-hand side from Team NV, it is Maru up against the red Protoss top right-hand side, Alpha X's Zoun. I got a lot of really cool replays to cast the next couple of weeks. I've got some Alimo League games from the week I couldn't do Alimo League because I was casting DreamHack that day. I might delve into some of the DreamHack replays as well. Just in general, there's a few things I want to cast for YouTube specifically, so we're going to be trying to do a lot of those casts through the days while we have our live content in the evening on Twitch. And yeah, that's the plan, especially because in the first week of September I'll be away for a week. I wonder why, and maybe it'll be something to do with the Starcraft tournament that's happening then. So would like to bank up a little bit of YouTube content. Top right-hand side, our red Protoss player is Zoun. Bottom left-hand side, our blue Terran player is Maru. Bring us back to this game. I know, intros twice in one game. I'm a madman, what can I say? I went off on a tangent, and I just wanted to make sure everyone's attention was back on the game fully, you know? I want to make sure everybody knew exactly what's going on. Like when casters are honest about the game rather than trying to play by play as if the game hinges on each play. Yeah, no, I mean, I like that style of casting too, and that's why I generally am just like sometimes overly honest about my opinion of the game at least, but then, you know, sometimes people can be wrong and games can swing, and that's where the crazy things happen. I mean, like I said, I mean, I'm definitely the person to kind of stand up and say, yo guys, this game just ain't it. This game ain't exciting. Nothing's cool. You know, this guy's dead or nothing's happened. I say it a lot when we have like those TVTs on Romanticide. Between some of the top Terran players in Europe, where it's just like nothing happens for 20 minutes. I'm like, guys, like, I'm sure this game will turn out to be epic for the minute 20 to 30, but geez, the last, like, you know, the first 20 were terrible. Not fun at all. I think it's important to say it as you see it sometimes and be happy to be wrong sometimes if you are as well, you know? As a dev, just going to shade on forward. He's going to put some pressure in. Moves at the ramp, moves back down. A couple of Marines going to pop out the bunker. And they are going to already chase that Adept away. So it's just going to get picked away, but it's obviously not going to go down. It is going to be able to get out of there alive. Shading for a bit more information. If that depot was down, maybe it would have dove into the main for a little bit further info as well. But of course, that did not happen. Blink just Chrono boosting on that Twilight Council, so already getting that rolling as well gives you a good upgrade to work with. Obviously, this is kind of maybe one of the more kind of normal games we're going to see from Zoun. First game, 4-gate Blink. I say normal, I mean like kind of regular macro, you know, is what I mean. You know, a game in which you can sort of just set up into and you're just going to aim for third base and you're just going to go from there and see what happens. So that's kind of the way in which we are going right now. So yeah, because first game was 4-gate Blink and the second game was that DT opening, this one really should be looking towards a third base sometime soon. As the Robo comes up, the only thing that it could be instead is the probe does move out to the third. I was thinking maybe you go for like a 2-base Robo Bay, and you move into Colossi off of 2 bases. That would have been rather unique as well, of course. So that would have been something that could have maybe kind of shocked a couple people or so, right? That could have been a cool little something. As the Nexus is down, and our Blink is going to be finishing as first Widow Mine drop of the game shows up. 2 Widow Mines going to spread out in the main. And they are going to be burrowed up and just going to buy a lot of time where probes are not able to mine. Now we Widow Mine drop the natural expansion. Zoun's on top of it. This next Widow Mine shot went off. In the end is going to hit a Stalker that can blink away. So just 1 Widow Mine surviving. Not major damage done this time. So Zoun has a decent defense against the Widow Mine drop. Just needs to make sure that this time the Widow Mine drop doesn't do damage when it comes back in for round 2, right? That's obviously what happened last time. He took some damage initially, more damage than that, and on the follow-up, he ended up in a lot of trouble. As Maru opens in the exact same way, has this Marine push as well, and last time that was causing some issues with the Prism, and that's maybe why Zoun was, taking off his stride and playing a little bit kind of hectically. His Prism was in the middle of the map, it got seen, he's like, crap, and then he's trying to make DTs work, and that took his attention away, so these Widow Mines had a distracted Zoun to try and deal damage to, and obviously that went very well for Maru, so that's kind of the difference from that game to this game. Medevac goes down here, but the Widow Mine at least goes out with a bang, taking one further probe, denying a little bit more mining time. That is the end of the Widow Mine drop for the moment, though, at least. So now we're going to be seeing our charge upgrade beginning on this Twilight Council as well. And there's the Robobay 2 to really give us a solid idea of what this mid-game will look like from Zoun. Colossi, obviously ground army, and then typically we see disruptors as the next step from that. So if Zoun is to follow the typical game plan, we kind of know what he's doing for the next kind of 2-3 minutes at least. In fact, he goes disruptors before Colossus. I feel that is actually a step away from the norm. So the problem with going disruptors first, typically, is that disruptor first is just a little bit scary. You're so reliant on one disruptor shot being effective and, really landing the way, in the best possible way, that if that one disruptor shot does not land, you are immediately in some trouble. If you miss 2 disruptor shots, that's problematic. Whereas the Colossi can't really miss their shots. With the Colossi, you're talking about a situation in which you are... Yeah, I mean, basically, with the Colossi, you're talking about a situation in which they're going to consistently deal damage throughout the fight, unless they get killed, which is much easier. It's much easier to keep your Colossi alive than have the first 2 disruptor shots guaranteed to connect on something. So, a little bit of a riskier opening, going double disruptor, I believe, and then into Colossus production. We'll see if it works out for Zoun. Is it the kind of crazy that can work well? I feel like it's the kind of crazy that doesn't do so well against drops, because now you've got to fire disruptors at units which can just lift up and get out of there in an instant as well. Not a larger army. These Stalkers, a little distracted, not blinking away, losing multiple. As we do see the third base just straight up in trouble. Matrix on the first disruptor that shows up now, an Order Turret 2. We're just going to go drop with a natural. Third base dead, and already Maru is in a fantastic position here in game number 3, and he is just looking to sweep the floor with Zoun. I mean, this has been a dominating series, honestly, for the most part. Not a single part of it has really gone Zoun's way. There was, moments in Lightshade where I was like, okay, I see Maru being held off, I see Zoun defending, and then the drop happened, the multi-pronged happened, and Zoun had no defense. It just feels like Zoun's not quite at it. It's one of those weird things where it's like, it almost feels like Zoun isn't playing well, but it probably is more the fact that Maru just has a lot of these smaller things that he's just doing extremely well, and he's just very good at positioning and picking away at his opponent, and he just kind of makes it look easy. We know Zoun is not an easy opponent. We know Zoun is very good in this matchup specifically as well. It's probably just that kind of Maru effect where he makes people look a little bit silly and a little bit worse than they really are, because he is just kind of that good at Starcraft too. We don't get to appreciate it all the time because we don't see him playing in a lot of these online cups, but when he does play in these online tournaments and he does show up playing seriously too, he looks like an absolute beast, and that's kind of what we're seeing here in this semi-final matchup, obviously hoping that he can make it through to the finals, as a few buy units in the back of this main base are going to get the Forge, and that's probably going to be the end of +1, so yep, Forge is indeed going to go down. We actually have the new units going to drop in from the low ground to the high ground here. Probe's already dropping. Widow Mines killed some workers on that left-hand side, as it looks as though this drop will be cleaned up, and Zoun might be able to swing army supply, or maybe not swing it, but slow army supply progression down for Maru for just a few moments. Meanwhile, on Zoun's side of the map, while he's slowing Maru at least a little bit, I mean, he's still behind on upgrades. Obviously, +1 just got cancelled, so he's now 0-0 still against the 1-1. And Zoun really does look to be in. Well, apparently a hole you can only get out of via the one big attack, perhaps. That seems to be what he was thinking, but then guess who showed up? It's another drop from Maru! A feedback on one of the medevacs, but there's still a medevac with healing. There's 2 Widow Mines borrowed here as well, and that might be the concern. Uh-oh, we just blinked the Stalkers in to chase the Medivacs, and that's going to be some more important units than usual going down to Widowmine shots. So that's a little bit painful. Probes are going down too, as I guess, yeah, it's just damage being done everywhere once again. Maru is once more really starting to just run away with this game number 3, and hence the series as well, of course. Up 2-0 in a best of 5. And he would be moving through to the grand finals. 8 more probes dying. We haven't actually cast the other semi-final yet, so we don't know who he's going to play in those grand finals. I believe, if I can remember correctly, the other semi-final is Beyond DRG, and I'm hoping to cast that at some point this week, because I do want to complete, I think I want to complete a set of uploads on the YouTube for this tournament all the way through the semis and into the finals and stuff as well, because we've got quite a lot of these on the YouTube, so I think it'd be nice to finish the tournament for sure, as Maru makes a dive up towards the natural expansion. Bio Army at the left-hand side is defending. Here we go, the Bio Stim into the natural expansion, so I mean, he's just trying to slow Zoun's main army down. He's already counter-attacking, and he's looking to do pretty well over here, honestly. I mean, these two Archons will take a step forward. I'm just going to be seeing the Super Battery keeping them alive more than anything else for the moment. So those Archons actually being kept alive at least, but now that's a Super Battery on cooldown, and that means obviously Maru is going to be stronger elsewhere on the map as well. And that's something you've always got to play around as a Terran. I know a lot of people are like, oh my god, they can just pop Super Battery. Oh my god, they just recalled to safety. But if you can play around the cooldown, that's the word I'm looking for, the cooldown of those spells, which they do have sizable cooldowns, you can play around those and then, you know, hit now where there is no Super Battery. In this case, Maru kind of let up all pressure. But it's something you can always think about, right? With that Super Battery on cooldown, Zoun is even more afraid to just leave smaller portions of units behind now than he was before, right? Maru might just drop into the main. He's in that position where loading up into the main is just kind of almost a given, like it's just going to happen. Zoun was on his way here, but it looked like he had to go in a very complicated route, as maybe the Auto Turret kind of drew him behind the mineral line initially. Because Disruptor Shock gets a Widow Mine. Big recall into the main, but there's units on the low ground for the natural. There's units on the left going to run for the third. These are going to get hit by Disruptors, but honestly, both the Disruptors hit the same portion of the army. So, kind of just not really being as effective as they could have been. As unfortunate as that may be, just going to see a couple more Widow Mines still connecting, still doing good damage. And otherwise, Maru is just more or less getting on top of that third base. And he's back in the main with a drop. He has honestly just picked Zoun apart in this series. You can call this How to Kill a Protoss 101, because he really has just played... I think Maru, obviously not a flawless series. Like I say, there's a couple times in game 1 where he was in some trouble, but otherwise, he just had a very good set of games here. Just felt like Zoun wasn't able to do anything about any of it. Obviously, like I say, it's kind of funny because we know how good Zoun can be, and I don't really want to believe that today was just a bad day for Zoun. I just want to think he was actually just playing against Maru, and that's kind of a rough matchup, honestly. And it really is as well. And Maru just going to show up here, and as he stims through, he's going to clean out this natural expansion, all those Disruptors going down. His Fusel's being picked away, a couple of robots still popping out Disruptors at the front. Yeah, I think we are well and truly kind of towards the end, as once again Zoun's turning home to defend. I'm not sure, I mean, even if you picked up this entire army for free, that would be, I mean, that would obviously help, but it wouldn't be enough. It would be a step in the right direction, I suppose, but it's obviously not for free either, because you've already lost the natural expansion. It's going to turn and fight. Archons on the ramp get EMP'd, so they're going to be absolutely useless. We've got more EMPs available. Archons are going to melt pretty quickly, and Zoun is just going to tap out GG to give Maru the 3-0 in this matchup. Wow. Just not surprised. Like, if you told me Maru 3-0'd Zoun, I wouldn't be shocked, I don't think. It's just the fact that Maru 3-0'd Zoun, and Zoun didn't look like he had an inkling of a chance in any of these games. That's what shocked me, the way in which this happened. Not that it did happen, you know? GG's. And that is going to be Maru going to the grand finals to play against it. Like I say, I believe it's the winner of Beyond versus DRG that will